I will say Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Ua Havatayat Yahweh Eloheka, Ede V'kol Levavika, V'kol Nafshika, V'kol Meodika, Ua Havaka Loreaka Kumoka, Elurukata Yahweh, the Eloheinu, the Malach Alam. Asher B'kara Banu, the Mikol Laham, Mamayim, the Nathan Lanu, the Atatorato, Abrukata Yahweh, our Elohim, the Malach Alam, the Asher Latanu, the Emet, the Kaye, and the Natad de Betokino, Borukata Yahweh, the Notena HaTorah. I switched it up a little bit by saying, first of all, that Israel needs to understand that our Elohim is one. Yahweh is our Elohim and Yahweh is one. And we are to love Yahweh with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our strength. And we thank him because he's given us the Torah. And we thank him because he's our Elohim. He's the king of the universe. And we don't really know him the way that we ought to know him. I know we hear people talk about they know Yah and they have this great relationship with him and so forth and so on. And they got people convinced that they have this direct connect with God and they can come up to him anytime they feel like, and they're bold enough. And, Christ has torn down the wall of partition between us. And so you and I have free access to Yah, and, we can walk into him any kind of way. We can say whatever we want to say. And, he's a loving and forgiving Elohim. And they just tell us all those things that, people want to hear. But the fact of the matter is that the Elohim that you and I serve is an Elohim of holiness, which we would call to be set apart. He's Kadosh. And because he's Kadosh, you're not able to approach him because we're human beings. We have uncleanness. We have uncleanness on our bodies. We have uncleanness that comes through our bodies. We have uncleanness within ourselves, in our mind, in our thinking, in our thoughts. We have uncleanness, through the things that we look at. We have uncleanness through the things that we touch. So every part of our being is affected and can be infected with uncleanness. We read a few weeks ago, and I mentioned I grossed a lot of people out because I talked about how Ezekiel, was told to cook his bread with human feces. And he said, nothing's ever unclean has ever entered my mouth. And Yah told him to cook it with that, and he refused. And Yah said, okay, well, I'll give you a reprieve, but we're going to still do something unclean. We go cook it with, cow dung. We go cook your food with cow dung. And it represented that the situation for Yisrael, for his people, was going to come to a point of eating bread that was afflicted and that was filthy. And we haven't accepted that, and when I talk about we, I'm talking about all of us. I don't want to isolate and say just the people outside of this Zoom class. What I want to talk about is our nation. Our family has been infected, and we have been affected by the infection. We're unclean no matter what you and I do. Okay. From Yahweh's perspective, we're unclean. But what shall we do in the midst of this uncleanness? Should we just say, okay, well, I'm clean. There's nothing else I can do, so I'm filthy, No, Yah has brought it to our attention that there are things that you and I can do. I don't want to tell you about what you can't do, because that's what people like to do, because they don't want to keep Yah's laws. They want to find every way to go against what he said, okay? There are things that we can do to bring us to a point of experience some degree of cleanness, some degree of that. We say, well, you're talking out of two sides of your mouth. One moment you just told us we're unclean, then the next minute you tell me we can do some things. What Yahweh is looking for is for a mindset. Okay, that's what he's looking for. He's looking for a person who would take the time to try to understand what our experience is right now. He's trying to get us to understand that our separation from him has been due to our behavior. It's been due to the things that you and I want to do. It's been due to the mindset. The mindset of Israel has always wanted to be like the nations. He says this in Ezekiel 20. He said, what you had said that we want to be like the nations is not going to happen. But you can see that Israel at this time has adopted and adapted to the nations that are around us. Everything that you and I have ever learned has been from the people that hate us. I need you to hear what I just said. They have no intention on good for you whatsoever. Okay. And the bad part about it is you and I don't understand who we really are. We don't. Why? Because we dress like them, we think like them, we go to their businesses, we eat like them, we celebrate with them. They're all around us. Okay. This is Davidology right here when I say that I believe that the Creator sent us to the four corners of the earth to find out and to test us, to find out which one of you guys are the ones who want to go back and be clean. Who wants it? Which one of you really want to go to a point of being separated from the nations and saying, I'm done. I'm washing my hands with them. I'm washing my hands with their restaurants. I'm washing my hands with their social gatherings. I'm washing my hands with their mindset and the way that they think. I'm washing my hands. This is a great place to find out who would turn to Yahweh. You know, and our Torah portion for the last few weeks has been talking about the infection of Zazarat. Zazarat was something that Yah had inflicted upon the people that had various things that were going on with them. We found in our studies that Zazarat was given to the people who would speak. They had Lashon Hara. They would speak evil about someone. They were gossipers. They were people who were envious of other people like Miraim and Aharon. We see the Zazarat was given to a man who had a relationship with the Creator at one point, and he was counseling Yah. He was King Uzziah, and he was building things. He had a great life. He began to reign at 16. He was building all kinds of buildings and had a lot of accomplishments, you know, a lot of endeavors. And then all of a sudden he gets prideful and he gets arrogant about his relationship with the Creator. We also find that Zazarat was given to a person who was greedy, which is Gakazi. He was greedy for gain. What his whole intention was is that I can get something to better myself and to benefit off of someone else's, mishaps. I want to take advantage of the situation, right? So there's various reasons why Yahweh used Zazarat. So we learned about that. And then we learned that Yah had talked about how a woman is supposed to separate herself during the time of her nida and what made her unclean, and for her separation for 7 days. We learned that, all males that were born supposed to go through the practice of circumcision due to the covenant that we're in with our father Abraham. Circumcision did not, they would say became a law, back when Moshe told the children of Israel. But circumcision has been part of the culture for our people. And it's a sign between Yah and Abraham and his descendants after him that I'm going to multiply your descendants. I'm going to give you a land, and I'm going to be your Elohim. Okay. We also learned the process of the, when a woman was to give birth and cast forth that seed of a male or a female, what her processes were, right? And how she was deemed to be unclean, how she to be separated. This week, it talked about the procedures on what a person's supposed to do in order to make themselves clean, right? And so the Kohen, which is the priest, which is the foundation of the community, was responsible for examination of the individual or individuals, and offerings were made. What I found to be interesting is that the offering that was made for the individual was called an asham. And we went over offerings about several weeks ago. There's 5 of them, okay? The first one is a olah, which is the one that's ascended. The second one is a minka, which is the flour and the wheat and the barley. And the third one was the shalomim offering, the offering of peace and communication. The fourth offering was what they would call the sin offering, the kata'ah, when a person did something inadvertently that they had made a mistake. And then the last one was an asham offering, which is a guilt offering, which is that, of course, you didn't have knowledge of something, okay? And you were to bring an offering for that. And so this in particular offering for a person who has Zazarat, they had to bring an offering for the asham, okay, which means guilt, okay? And I find that Yah, when he wants us to know something, he would use our body, or he would use things around us to talk to us. Because again, he's not physically here and talking with us, because he says, no man has seen me and I can't talk to you, because if I speak to you, you all will die. So what means do Yah use in terms of communication? He uses our bodies. He uses affliction. He uses sickness. He uses illness. He uses trouble. He uses pressure. He uses oppression. He uses all these different things. He uses anxiety. Okay. He uses discharge from your body. Okay. He uses all these different things. Okay. To bring about what? To bring about the change, to bring it to our minds and to bring it to our understanding that we are either moving away from him in a way that causes this pain to ourselves, but also too, we're breaching the relationship and what they would call the commune with him, the unity with him. If you and I are going to be joined with the Creator in any kind of capacity, you and I must first understand that he is Kadosh. He is totally set apart and different from anything and everyone on the face of this planet. I would repeat again that the Creator is not human. Dawid said that he's not human. He says the temple that we're building for you is not for a human being. It's for our Elohim who dwells in the heavens. Okay. So we can't get confused about who he is. We've been told that he became a man so he can understand who we are and what we're going through. And we've been told that he would come and send somebody named his son. And this in particular son is going to give us more understanding, because the bulls and the lambs and the birds and the scarlet yarn and all this kind of stuff didn't make any sense. So, he never told us anything. If I get a little excited today, or I get a little bit, this passion, this fire burns in me, please just understand what I'm about to tell you. These people have been lying on Yah and acting as if he ain't never expressed to the children of Israel what he meant by giving an offering. Like they were just dummies in the wilderness, dummies in the land, and had no knowledge whatsoever to do what he said, and didn't understand what those things meant. And the people that was teaching us were the Kohanim, as if they didn't have an understanding about what was set apart. It was their job to teach the children of Israel to know the difference between clean and unclean. Our people were not dumb like they would make you think, that they were just running around killing animals and just arbitrarily doing these things. They didn't understand nothing about harvest. They were just mindless. And then all of a sudden now they switch it. And now instead of us being just brainless and stupid and don't have the capacity to understand, now we're the people that don't get holiness. That's a complete lie. That is a complete lie. And I'm going to show it to you today. Okay. We're going to talk about a couple of different things today. The first thing that I want to talk about is the Shabbat. There is a problem with the understanding in the mind of a human being. Okay. For some reason or another, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. And I don't sit here in a place of I'm better. and I know more than you. I only know what you should know, which is what the Creator said. Okay? Yah is going to tell us again, right? And he's going to talk to us through his words. These are not my words. These are his words. Let's see what he said, okay? Because that's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter about what anybody else is talking about. It only matters about what did he say. So let's look at it. You guys see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Genesis chapter number 2, which is better sheep. There are no chapters in the scroll. They just put this here for us as a reference. Okay, there is no book Genesis. Okay, they named it this because the Greeks didn't understand. Okay, they said this is the beginning. They put the word gene in there. Okay, because this is talking about the beginning of something, and the beginning of creation, the beginning of the heavens, the beginning of the earth, the beginning of the animals, the beginning of everything. Okay, Genesis chapter number 2 says this: thus the heavens and the earth were finished, along with everything in them. In both the Shamayim, the heavens, okay, that's including the sun, the moon, and the stars, and whatever planets that are out there, okay, in our place that you and I can see, okay, that's finished. The birds that fly in the air, that's finished. The earth, the water, the division, the rivers, everything, the insects, the things that crawl, the things that are in the water, the things that are in the earth, the things that are beneath the earth, the things that are swarming, the things that are migrating, the bacteria, everything that Yah had done was finished. And it was on Yom Shavi'i, the 7th day. That's when it was on, the 7th day. It was finished. It was complete. The work in which he had asah, which he had formed and he made, he rested. He rested on this day. This word right here, what they would call rest, means to cease and desist. Means stopped. Nothing else. Nothing else to be added, nothing else to be taken away from it. Everything is working in accordance to what he wanted it to do. Because after everything he said that it was tov, that it was functional, it's good. Okay. And it was on the 7th day. Okay. He ceased from all of his work that he made. What did he do? He blessed the 7th day. And he separated it as kadosh, set apart, because on that day, Elohim rested from all his work which he created so that itself could produce. That means that if anybody is to believe and understand that everything that you see in your existence is because the Creator has done it. Anybody that would add anything to this day is declaring that he did not finish his work. Okay? It said Elohim. Okay? But I want to share something with you. I want to share with you what somebody else said. Okay? I want to take you to what they would call the Greek writings, that some people claim that this is what they would say scripture. The New Testament is not scripture. I'll repeat again, it's not scripture. And the reason why we know it's not scripture is because the Creator himself has never spoken in it, not one time. He's never declared, thus saith Yahweh, or the word of Yahweh came unto me, not one time. You can ask any Bible scholar you want to. You could talk to any rabbi or pastor or whoever you go talk to. I want everybody that's in this Zoom class to understand that the Creator has never spoken whatsoever in this in particular book. So if he didn't speak in this book, then you know, and I almost said something. I'm going to keep the Shabbat Kadosh. That is not Kadosh. It's not Kadosh. Yah tells us that I am Kadosh, and therefore you need to be Kadosh. There's nothing in here Kadosh. I don't care if they add all kind of excerpts from what you would call our scriptures. Okay? It doesn't make it clean. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. You can't add anything clean to anything unclean and then turn around and say that it's clean. And this is the problem that we're having, that we can't accept this. We're vacillating between two opinions. We believe that the God of the New Testament is the God of our covenant. I don't even call it a testament. It's a covenant. That's what it is. It's an agreement between two parties. And he has covenants with Abraham. He has covenants with Yitzchak and Yaakov and oaths. He has a covenant that he made with the earth. He has a covenant with Yisrael. He makes covenants. And you and I don't have a right to turn around and try to say that he made another covenant when he never did. Listen to what the writer of the book of Matthew said. The writer is anonymous. Do your research. They don't even know who wrote the book. You understand? They don't even know who wrote this book. It says on Shabbat. So it's a Shabbat. During that time, Yeshua was walking through some wheat fields in his Talmudim. I told you what a Talmudim is. It's a student. It's a follower of a teacher. They were hungry on the Shabbat, so they began picking heads of grain and eating them. I'm going to read the story before I get upset so I won't lose track. And on seeing this, the Perushim, which they would call the Pharisees, said to him, "Look, your Talmudim, your students, your disciples are violating the Shabbat." But he said to them, "Haven't you ever read what David did when he and those with him were hungry?" So he moves away from what the disciples have done with the Talmudim, what his followers are doing, to focus the attention on David. Look at what he says. He said he entered the house in verse 4 of Elohim. That's what he said. Write this in your notebook. Become a student yourself of the Torah. Okay? Write down this filth right here so you can make a comparison. Okay? You are going to have to make a decision. And you have to make that as soon as possible. You're going to have to be able to declare what is clean and what is unclean. That's what you're going to have to do today. You have to make up your mind today whether or not this is from Elohim or not. If you find anything in it that contradicts what Yah says, you and I are supposed to end it and say that's it. And you declare it as being unclean. That's the purpose of us going here today. This man said that David had entered the house of Elohim. The house of Elohim is called his Mishkan, Yah's dwelling place. And he said that he ate the bread of presence when he went into the tabernacle. That's what he said, which was prohibited both to him and to his companions. It is permitted only to the Kohanim. That's what he said. Okay. Then he throws on there, or haven't you read in the Torah that on the Shabbat, the Kohanim profane the Shabbat, and yet they're blameless? That is a complete lie. Anybody that breaks the Shabbat is not blameless. Okay. So remember who he's talking to. He's talking to the Perishim, and this is their narrative. Okay. So let's deal with the fact that he talks about what Dawid did. He said Dawid went in. I'm gonna leave it right there. Dawid went into the house of Elohim, and him and the guys with him, and they ate the bread of presence. They just took it right off the bread of presence table, which nobody except for the Kohanim are allowed to go in and even deal with the bread. Let's find out if that's true. Write it down. Write this down, because this has to do with the Shabbat. The man had said, according to the third-party person that they anonymously named Matthew, because they didn't know who it was, so they just named him Matthew, okay? Said this. He said that Dawid had went into the temple. Let's see if that's true according to the book of Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter number 21. Now, let me give you some context. Context is always good. We don't do one-liners. We don't take one line and try to figure out what that means and say, well, this is what it means. No, you got to look at the whole entire context. What was going on, who was there, what was happening, and what time it was. Okay. Subject, object, verb, all that. Okay. So Dawid went to Nov. Okay. We know that this is some type of city that is not Jerusalem. And he went to Achimelech. Aki is my brother, and Melech means king. That's what he named. And he says he was the priest. Achimelech trembled when he met him, and he asked him, why are you alone? This is after Jonathan had met David and told him that, yes, my father wants to kill you. So David had then began to be on the run, and he separated himself from Shaul, and he was on his way. So he went to this guy in Nov. And when he went there, he says, why are you alone? This is what the priest asked him. He says, why is no one with you? Okay. Dawid answered Achimelech, the priest. He's not the high priest. Okay. The king sent me on a mission and said to me, no one is to know anything about the mission I'm sending you on. As for my men, I have told them to meet me at a certain place. So David's by himself. And he's telling this priest that the king has sent me on a mission. This priest was scared, like, why are you here? Because he knew who David was. He knew David was a warrior. He understood what was going on. He's not dumb. He understands. Okay. So now then, he asked him this. What do you have on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread or whatever you can find. Okay. Question. Are they at the temple of Elohim? No. They're not at the temple. So according to Matthew, it said that David just went right into the temple. And he took bread off the table. That's what they said. Dawid did not go into the temple. Dawid went into this man's house. Okay. And he says, but the priest answered Dawid, I don't have any ordinary bread on hand. However, there is some consecrated bread here, provided the men have kept themselves from women. This is tied to our Torah portion. Why is it that this priest tells him, or let me ask the question, did Dawid ask for the consecrated bread, or was the consecrated bread offered to him?
It was offered to him.
It was offered to him. He didn't ask. He didn't go in and go take the bread off the bread of presence off the table. He didn't commit any crime of doing such a thing. He wasn't arrogant enough to go in and say, I'm the king, so give me the bread. Like Uzziah, who got arrogant and said, I'm going to light the incense altar. David knew his place. He had regard for Yah, but he was hungry. He didn't ask for the consecrated bread. It was offered to him. And it was offered to his men, provided that they were what? That they kept themselves from women. What do you mean by keeping yourself from a woman? Somebody tell me. Why did he want to know if they kept themselves from a woman? According to our Torah portion this week.
See if they were clean.
Thank you, to see whether or not they were clean, because if they had any sexual contact, they were declared to be unclean. If they had touched a woman through her menstrual cycle, they were declared to be unclean. You understand? So even the king at this point understood that. The priest is letting him know, look, no one can touch this unless they go through being clean. It was offered to him. David didn't snatch it and be a bully and take it. David replied, indeed, women have been kept from us. As usual, whenever I set out, the men's bodies are holy. Woo! They're holy. They're set apart on missions. Okay. On missions, they are not holy. Okay. The men's bodies are holy, even on missions that are not holy. So what are we learning from this? We're learning that the men stayed holy, even if their mission wasn't holy. You telling me there could be a holy mission? Yeah, I need you to go in and kill everybody in this city for Yahweh, because it has come to our attention that somebody's worshiping other gods. It's come to our attention. The Yah says, I want you to go ahead and destroy these people because they're Yahweh's army. That's who Israel is. They weren't just going on missions to be going on missions. There was missions to go on. They were holy missions, missions that were set apart. And he's saying, so how much more today? Remember, because he's saying, I've been sent on a mission. Remember he told him that? I've been sent on a secret mission. And this mission is to be set apart. And I need you to hear what I'm saying. What can you and I derive from this? I'm telling you, the ultimate goal of Yahweh's people is to be holy. Every mission that you and I are going to endeavor upon when we get back to our land is going to be holy. Every person that you come in contact with, they're going to have to understand that they're going to need to be holy. Don't you whine and cry about what Yah has called us to be. Don't you get your feathers ruffled because he says you can't be like them. And it starts right now. It doesn't start when you get back to the land. It starts right now. The problem that our people had is even in the wilderness, they still didn't know what holiness was because they didn't have the mindset. They didn't want it. You only want holiness when it's convenient for you. Holiness is a mindset. One that sets its mind. It's not egotistical, where it's constantly thinking about oneself and speaking of oneself and speaking about what they're doing and what I'm going to do and who I am. It's not this separated mindset that you're separated from everyone else, except for the people you need to be around, which is your people. Holiness is for the community. Holiness is for the children of Israel. It's to be set apart. That is your mission, Israel. And you're going through the process of being prepared for holiness. Every chapter you and I are going to read from the remaining part of this book has to do with holiness. I don't know if it's next week. I think it's called Akarei Hamoth, meaning after death. Next week talks about the holiness of Yah. How much more, he says, so today. So the priests gave David the consecrated bread. He gave him the bread that was consecrated, the bread that had set apart for the children of Israel. He ate from that bread. There was no bread there except the bread of presence that had been removed from before Yahweh. Matthew is telling a lie. The writer is telling a lie. The narrative of Yeshua is telling a lie. Whoever created that character is lying to you because their goal is to break Yahweh's Shabbat. Just like this person you can hear out there mowing their lawn today. Excuse me for just a second. It's a lie. And this lie has permeated our people and our minds. It's made you think that it's okay to break Yah's laws and to desecrate the day that he made and set apart as a jewel to say, this is my finished work. The seventh day is the day of ceasing to look at everything that Yahweh has made. It's your opportunity to look with your eyes what Yahweh has made. This is your day to smell the flowers that he made. This is your day to open your mouth and put the food that he provided in your mouth. It's your day to open up your ears and hear the birds chirping that he made. This is a set apart day. It's not 24 hours. It's from the moment that the sun rises to the sun goes down. Yes, we've been taught that a day is 24 hours, but it's not. A day is when you see the sun. And then it transitions into what we would call a rev, the evening. In our Torah portion this week, you heard it over and over and over again that said that you're going to remain unclean until the evening. Shall remain unclean till the evening. Shall remain unclean till the evening. Chapter number 15 says it about 15 times. You're going to remain unclean till the evening, unclean till the evening, unclean till the evening. Why? Because it's a time of transition. It's a time of you transitioning from light into another, not into darkness. There's a blending between the light and the darkness starting to blend. It's a changing of guard. Your day begins when the sun comes up, and your day ends when the sun goes down. When you see that beautiful color in the sky, that's the end of your day. Yah's letting us know that I'll give you a certain amount of time to declare you unclean, but when this particular time comes, I then can make you clean, and I will declare you clean because I want you to be in my presence. I don't keep you separated from me so you can't be next to me. I'm not going to do that to you. I want you to be next to me. I want you to be near me, but you can't come near me, human being, if you're unclean. If you stay in a sense of uncleanness, like that woman that we read earlier this week, that says she had an issue of blood for 12 years, that so-called Yeshua, she touched Yeshua and all of a sudden she's healed. She has no offering. She didn't give no shame offering. She gave no olah, no burnt offering. She gave no kata'ath, no sin offering. She didn't give any offerings to Yahweh. None whatsoever. And our people are dumb enough to believe what these people are talking about. Okay? So, consecration, they say in English, is to be godly. I looked it up, okay? But it goes beyond that. It goes to be devoted to Yah, devoted to him, and devoted to his ways. Often we're more devoted to ourselves than we are to him because we have this self this idea about self. You know, we often think about the importance of ourselves, how important we are. I got checked so hard yesterday by the Creator. It told me, you're just somebody that was born in 1970. You're afar. You are nothing but dust. And you know what? I don't need you at all. I don't need you to teach for me. I don't need you to say anything for me. If I wanted to do whatever I want to do, I can have anybody do it. Matter of fact, I can speak for myself. I don't need you to testify for me. You testifying for me is supposed to be an honor. For you to declare my words should be an honor for you. You speak what I said. And if you do say it, you better speak it faithfully. Because I'm not a human being. I am the Kadosh one. I am the king of the universe. I am the majestic one. I am the one that everybody will fear. Even those Malakim and Katavim and all of them in front of me have a fear for me. And you better learn how to fear me. I don't need you. I chose you to be a servant, my servant. And you don't get to tell me what you want to do. You're not going to tell me I'm going to change my rules for you. I'm not going to do that. It's going to be what it is. Yahweh gave, or the priest here gave this bread, this consecrated bread, because there was no bread except that bread of presence that had been removed before Yahweh and replaced by hot bread on the day that it was taken away, because the bread is supposed to be replaced. Okay. That's when it's supposed to be replaced. So, is Matthew telling the truth? No. It's a lie. Listen what he says. Going down to verse number 9 in the book of Matthew, the unclean book. Going on from that place, he went into the synagogue. But before I go there, let me ask you a question. Why were the disciples or these Talmudim eating and picking? How was that a crime? How was that a violation of the Torah?
Working with their hands.
Thank you. And you know what? Some people say, well, how can you prove that? I'm going to prove it for you right here. We're in the book of Isaiah, chapter number 56. Okay. Thank you for that, Yared. Thank you for reminding me. The title of this is Salvation for All Nations. They were in violation because of what they did with their hands. Okay. They did something with their hands. Do you guys remember what happened to a person who picked up sticks that was on the Shabbat? What happened to him?
He got stoned to death.
He got killed. And and it's in chapter number 15 of the book of Numbers. They put him in ward and they asked Yah, what shall we do with this person? And Yah said, put him to death. The whole entire congregation, and stone him. The reason why he was stoned was because he lifted his hand to do something. Okay, so listen to this. In the book of Isaiah, I'm going to read it in English in verse number 1 from right to left. It says, thus says Yahweh, keep, meaning guard, okay, justice and do righteousness for about salvation to come and my righteousness to be revealed, meaning that my righteousness is about to come and my salvation is near. It's coming, right? It's going to be revealed. He says, blessed is the man, the Anosh, okay? Happy is the person. This is not a Baruch here, because sometimes, there's two words for blessed. One is called Ashrei, okay? And Ashrei means to be happy. Okay, that's what that means. Not, I'm blessed with abundance. It says happy. Happy is the person. Happy is the Enosh, the man who Ya'asa, or Ya'ase, who does, okay, this, Hazo, that he, and the son of man, okay, the human, because we know that Adam is both consistent of what? Somebody tell what a dom is that you've been in my class. You know, the dom is not just a male, but it's what?
Male and female.
Male and female.
Male and female is a car and a keva. Okay. So anybody that's born of a human being, that's what he means by an uve and adam, and whoever is born of human being, any person who has done this. Okay. Happy is this person who yazik, who takes hold and grasps a hold of it, of what? And guards what? Guards the what? Here it is. What is a person who's happy and who guards what? The Shabbat. This is for salvation for anybody. I want you to hear what he just said, and I'm going to put it in English after I'm finished. So if a person guards the Shabbat, they're going to be happy. And anyone who takes hold of the Shabbat to make sure that he guards it from defilement, from defiling it, and guards it, his hand, keeps his hand. He makes sure he guards his hand from doing any kind of work, from doing all evil. The Hebrew understanding is if you're going to guard Yahweh's Shabbat, you have to guard your hand. You don't take your hand to do work. You take your hand and grasp hold of the covenant. Let me put it in English so I can show you how sometimes they don't really tell you what it is. So you can understand if you don't know the language and you don't read it, you'll be like, wow, okay, I didn't hear that part. I just think if you just did, here it is in 56. And remember, Yah's not human. This is what it says in English. Here's what Yahweh says. They said, observe justice, meaning guard, and do righteousness. Okay. For my salvation is close to coming, and my righteousness being revealed. Okay. Yah has not brought salvation to the nations. Yahweh has not brought salvation to the world yet. Okay. This is the reason why I told you that I listened to, I read David Stern, his translation is because he translated this properly. Happy is the person who does this. Anyone who grasps it firmly with your hands, who guards the Shabbat and does not profane it and keeps himself from doing evil. Here it says keeps himself, but it didn't tell you that it was his hand. You would think mentally, oh, well, I just got to keep myself from evil and I'm good. As long as I'm doing good, I'm not doing evil. That's fine. The moment that you move your hand against on Shabbat is the moment that you are now have done evil. Because Yahweh doesn't want anybody to add. If you do anything, you're saying that what he did, he didn't finish his work. That's what you're saying. You're saying on the Shabbat that Yahweh did not finish his work, and therefore you're going to continue to work. Okay. Let me tell you something else about the Shabbat. You're supposed to remember the Shabbat. Okay. Listen to this. This is in Deuteronomy chapter number 5, verse 15. Write it down for your record. Yah says you are to remember Zakar, okay, because that's what the word for remember is, Zakar. I need you to remember, make a memorial, okay, be reminded. I need you to always have a reminder that you were a slave in Egypt, in the land of Egypt. And Yahweh, your Elohim, brought you out from there with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. Okay. Therefore, Yahweh, your Elohim, has ordered you to guard the Shabbat, because the Shabbat is connected to your being brought out of slavery. He wants you to remember that you were a slave. I need to remind you that you're a slave because that you were a slave. And now that I'm reminding you that you're a slave, I'm telling you that when I took you from there, I didn't want you to be mistreated any longer. I didn't want you to be oppressed. I didn't want you to do any filthy things that they did. I didn't want you to treat people a certain way. I don't want you to eat what their food is or nothing. But I didn't take you out of there so you can be free. No, you listen to what I'm about to tell you. You're my slave now. That's why I brought you out. You belong to me. Well, where's that at, Akika? Where's that? Because you just said that, and you just said it with a lot of passion. So obviously, there must be something here, because you can't be screaming this if it's not true. Well, go to Leviticus chapter number 25. Let's look at it. Let's look at Leviticus chapter number 25 and find out if you're a slave or not. We're all his slaves. And you and I need to understand what that means. What that means. Chapter number 25 is here you go, 54. Okay. Leviticus chapter number 25. And we'll come back to this later in our Torah portions, but here it is. It's a long chapter. Let me just share it with you, because I got a whole bunch of other things to look at. For me, verse 55, for to me, the people of Israel are slaves. They are my slaves, whom I brought out of the land of Mizraim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You and I belong to him. And this is the reason why he gives us a Torah that tells us if a master does something to a servant, like if you accidentally killed your servant because you were so mad at them and they didn't survive, there was no harm that was done to the person who owned the slave. Yah could do whatever he chooses to do to his slave. He could do whatever he wants to us at any given time. This is the reason why he's not suggesting that you do what he says. It's not the reason why he gave us the Torah. He gave us the Torah because I'm going to show you how to live. This is the reason why I tell you not to mistreat the foreign and the strangers, because you are foreign and strangers. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that you are my slaves. You belong to me. And therefore, because you belong to me, I'm telling you to obey what I'm saying. Write this down in your notebook. Shemot 31:13. Easy to remember. Got 1-3 and or 3-1 and a 1-3. 3-1-1-3. 31:13. Tell, make it known to the sons of Israel, the people, the male and the females, and everybody, including their children. You are to observe my Shabbats. You are to guard my Shabbats. I don't want you just talking about it. I want you to guard it. And let me tell you how you're supposed to guard it. You and I are not supposed to guard the Shabbat by walking through someone's fields and picking food when you're supposedly hungry. Those in particular Talmudim were given permission by their master. Remember, they called him master. Well, who's our master? According to what we read in Leviticus 25, you and I are Yahweh's slaves, and Yah is our master. That's why we call him Adonai. He's the master of masters. And this is why he identifies himself in the prophets as the master of masters, Yahweh. Tell the people of Israel who are my slaves, you are to guard my Shabbats. That's your job. I need you to guard it. So instead of you walking around and not having any food prepared on the Shabbat, because remember, they're walking around, they weren't prepared. So let's deal with this preparation idea. A lot of us are being lazy when it comes to the Shabbat. A lot of us are making excuses why you can't have your food prepared. A lot of us are making excuses why you can't prepare a nice meal for Shabbat. A lot of us are making excuses about, well, I'm going to do paper plates instead of the china and the crystal to celebrate the Shabbat because I'm being lazy because I don't understand the Shabbat. Well, let me tell you, the Shabbat is a time of celebration. It's to celebrate Yah delivering us from our oppression, to remember you and I were slaves, and he set us free to be his slaves so you and I can live the life that he wants us to live and be the example to the world. The Shabbat is celebration. It's a time to delight yourself in Yahweh. You don't treat Yahweh's Shabbat like a picnic where you go out and get paper plates and paper towels and paper cups because you don't feel the need that you can wash dishes, which is a lie. You can wash dishes on the Shabbat. You can make a beautiful meal on Shabbat. You can heat your food up on the Shabbat. You can toast your bread on Shabbat. You can buy the type of ice cream you want. You can buy the wine. You can drink as much as you want. It's a time of celebrating Yahweh's deliverance of the children of Israel. It's a reminder. You guard it by going get gas in your car on Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth day. You got 6 days to do everything you need to do. No more excuses about, well, I just didn't have no time. Well, if you understood the Shabbat, you would know the Shabbat starts in the morning. The Shabbat don't start the evening of Friday. That's where you're wrong. It doesn't start on Friday. So you got from Friday, from when the sun comes up to the sun coming up on Shabbat to get all the stuff you need to get done. You need to get it done because you're dishonoring and you're breaking Yahweh's laws. You're breaking his day that he set apart because this is a sign for Yisrael. Just like a circumcision. And it's for what? So you can know it's between me and you through all your generations, so that you will know that I am Yahweh who sets you apart from me. Set apart is kadosh. That's why I made the Shabbat. Genesis chapter number 2, I made the Shabbat for you. For my slaves, so they could rest and understand and know who I am by what I made. But when you're busy doing what you want to do and making excuses, you lose the essence of what the Shabbat is about. I need you to remember to keep and guard it because it is set apart. It is kadosh for you. I told you earlier in my teaching that I was going to have some passion today, and I'm full of it. Because I'm starting to understand that this particular day is a time that Yah has allowed us to come to him and be set apart so we can have communion with him. In the midst of our filthiness, Yah has set this day apart for us to come and to have some union with him. And we can't violate that. You got 6 days to do everything you need to do. But on this day, you need to set it apart because that's you in Yah's time. This is a set apart time for you and Yah. You and your creator, the king of the universe. I have not revealed myself to just anyone. I've revealed myself to you. Our blessing of the Torah says that I've called you from among all the peoples so you could be a special people to me. This is our opportunity to be set apart. This is our moment, and those who are able to get into this day have an opportunity to have a sense of closeness with the creator of the heavens and the earth in this particular day, Yah is looking at you as if you have set yourself apart. You put yourself in a space of time that no one else has access to. You can't violate that moment. And everyone who treats it as ordinary will and must be put to death, for whoever does any work on it is to be cut off from his people. Psalms 34 tells us that Yahweh told David, anybody that goes against me, I will cut off the wicked and cut off memory of them from off the earth as if they never existed. This is not a game for us. It's a sign between me and you, Israel. It's a sign that I set you apart wholly for me. It's a sign that I delivered you from your oppression, your exile. It's a sign to remind you that I am the one who delivered you, and I am going to be the one who rescued you and saved you and set you apart and cleanse you and bring you back to me. You violate that sign and you treat it ordinary, I'm going to put you to death. Because I don't have any respect of persons. I killed a young man for picking up sticks. I already told you what it is. Whoever does any work on it will be cut off from his people. On 6 days, work will get done. Don't give me, well, I'm not in the land, so it doesn't count. No, listen very carefully. You got 6 days to get your work done. Well, on the 7th day, if you know how to add, you better add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you'll find out what day the Shabbat is. It's complete rest. It's set apart for Yahweh. It's his day. It's his time. Whoever does any work on the Shabbat of the day of the Shabbat will be put to death. No, washing dishes ain't laborious. No, it's not. That's a different type of work. You're using your hands. You got to go to the bathroom. You got to wipe yourself. Is that a laborious work? No. Washing your dishes? No, it's not laborious work. Yah's not telling you if you got a set apart and clean day, do you think he wants your dishes piled up in the sink? No. Now, there is one day that no work is supposed to be done at all, and that's the Day of Atonement, where it's absolute total silence, no cooking, no food, no dishes, no nothing. You're just going to sit there for a 24-hour period and think about why I should have destroyed you and I didn't. You wash those dishes. You keep your house in that because you ate. So you clean that up. You don't go around and clean the bathroom up. That should have been done the day before. When it has to do with our eating, y'all understands. This ain't no religion. Get some dishwater and wash your dishes and make sure the kitchen looks clean. He didn't tell you to go do the windows. Just wash the dishes. He didn't tell you to clean the refrigerator out, but if you spill some, should you wipe it up? Yes. Clean it up. The people of Israel are to guard the Shabbat. To guard the Shabbat. And to do the Shabbat through all their generations as a perpetual covenant. Never to be destroyed, never to be ended, meaning it goes on and on and on. Whether or not you're alive or you're dead, it still goes on. And been going on from the moment that Yah created the earth and until the day that he destroys the entire universe. The moment that you're here and the days that you spend as Yahweh's slave, understand that Yah gives every person to what their life and their manner of life and their conduct deserves. Can you earn brownie points with Yah? Yes. Do you impress Yah with your behavior? Yes. Was he impressed with Caleb? He talks about him. He said he was faithful. He's the most faithful. He was with me. He was wholehearted towards me. He had a different type of spirit. Was he impressed with Noach? Yes, he was. He was a righteous man, always pursuing Yahweh. Was he impressed with Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov? Yes, he was. He's only given us the promise that he promised us is because of what he said to them, because of how they lived their lives, how they represented the family that he's trying to build. And our ancestors outside of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov have done nothing but a terrible job of being some rebellious children, having no regard, no shame whatsoever to give their duty and responsibility to their creator who created the heavens and the earth, who revealed himself to these in particular people. Let Yah remind us again that it is a sign. It's an oath between me and the people of Israel forever. You got 6 days, just like Yah. Yahweh made everything in 6 days, the heaven and the earth. He did a lot, didn't he? You and I can get a lot accomplished in 6 days. But on the 7th day, you need to cease from your work and honor the day in which Yahweh had stopped and rested. Yah finished speaking to Moshe on Mount Sinai. Yah gave him 2 tablets of testimony. You want a testament? Huh? This is the testimony of Yahweh, inscribed by his own finger. Do you want his testimony, or do you want the testimony of Paul, Peter, Luke, John, Timothy, Titus, Barnabas? Who are you going to believe? Who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to a man who's making excuses and deflected the question from about the disciples, who said that you heard what David did? We found out that that was a lie. Then he turned around and said this: the Son of Man is the Lord of Shabbat. I'm the master. I'm the master of Shabbat. And going on from there, he went into the synagogue, one of their little, meeting places. And a man there had a shriveled hand looking for a reason to accuse him of something. They asked him, is healing permitted? And he answered, if you have a sheep that falls into a pit on Shabbat, which one of you won't take hold of it and lift it out? Well, that's kind of interesting. Somebody tell me, why did the sheep fall into the pit on the Shabbat? Why?
Man, that thing supposed to be put up.
Thank you.
To be walking around.
The sheep are supposed to be corralled and put away because they're not allowed to do any work on the Shabbat. You see? So he's making an equivalency between this man who has his shriveled hand and a sheep. Which of you would take hold of it and lift it out? Why was it so important for him to do this on the Shabbat? I thought he was healing people all during the week. You see? Let me ask you a question. If this man's hand has been shriveled up for his whole life or whatever amount of time it was, why all of a sudden now you need to do it on the Shabbat? You don't think you get to last until the sun goes down? Then he says, how much more valuable is a man than a sheep? Oh, is that right? Okay. Yah calls Israel sheep and say that we're his sheep. Why is it Yah using a sheep to shed its blood on behalf of the man? As if the sheep doesn't have any value. Don't you know that the life of the blood that's in the sheep is the life is called a nefesh? It's the same nefesh that's in us. We're created on the same day. So what's the problem? Do you know not the beasts were created on the same day? The domestic animals were created the same day and came out of the same substance that we came out of? Just a little different. They have the same nefesh. Therefore, life. Therefore, what is permitted on the Shabbat is to do good. Then the man said, take out your hand. And he held it out and it became restored. Magic. And as sound as the other one. See? The New Testament is full of nothing but lies. And they try to mix in the truth of the Torah. Yah tells us in the book of Isaiah, chapter number 58. I covered it, but I want to go over it a little bit more. If you hold back your foot on Shabbat from pursuing your own interests on my holy day, my Kadosh day, my Kadosh Yom, if you call Shabbat a kepsah, a delight, Yahweh's Kadosh day, honoring it, then honor it. Honor the day. By what? By not doing your usual things. The New Testament says that the Shabbat is like every other day. You can do whatever you want. There's no difference between the Shabbat because he says that the Shabbat is he's the Lord of it. So I'm giving you permission to do whatever you want to do on that day. Just like I told you in the book of Mark, chapter number 7, that I declared everything clean. It's not what enters a man that defiles a man, but what comes out of a man, that's a lie. That's a lie. He's doing away with the priesthood. That's why they wrote those books. So they didn't have to have any accountability and to keep you away from Yahweh. If you get rid of the Shabbat, then you're not going to find a time in time to be kadosh. This is your time and your moment of being set apart for Yahweh. The day itself is what sanctifies you. You need to hear what I just said. If you're looking for sanctification in the midst of an unclean world and unclean people and homosexuality and transgender and lesbians and fornication and all these other types of things, adultery, theft, murder, people striking each other, robbing each other, cheating each other. If you want to get a time where you're separated within time, then this is the day. And on this day, you can't do what you normally do on every other day. You can't pursue your own interests. I remember teaching, and at one point, this woman came to me after my teaching and said, oh my goodness, you know, you just really brought out the Shabbat. And guess what? What do I do about my business? I usually have my conferences on this time, and I do this and I do that. And guess what I told her? I said, you don't break the Shabbat. No, you're pursuing your own interests. And you know what someone else told her? Go do your business. That's what somebody else told her. No, you don't have to worry about that. You're earning a living for your family. It was a conference. It's not a job. It's a conference. It's doing your usual things, your own interests. You know, you like to work out. You got 6 days to work out. You want to pump your muscles up? You can pump them up 6 days. You better not lift one weight on the day. You like to swim? That's your usual thing. Well, I can go swimming. Ain't no harm in it. I'm not working. That's your usual thing. That's your own interest. Yahweh it's like he's trying to force us to understand that as holy as I am and as kadosh as I am and set apart as I am, I miss you. And I want to spend time with you. You're my wife. And I want to spend this day with you. I know we both, got things to do, but I want to spend some time with you. And then when you got on this day that you and I are supposed to be spending time together, what you're doing is you're looking at what you want to look at. You're going through your magazines, you're studying your schoolwork. You have no regard for me. Your education is more important than my Shabbat. Your relationships with your boyfriend or your girlfriend is more important than Shabbat. Everything that you're doing outside of what I told you to do is more important. Your usual things that you do is more important. You speaking about them is more important than our relationship. You have no regard. You're talking about stuff that you've been talking about all week, and now you're still talking about it on my day. Because you have no regard, you have no respect. You don't even care about this relationship. But he says, if you do, if you will honor what I said, if you will find delight, you'll find it. The reason why we don't understand the Shabbat is because we're not trying to find delight in Yahweh. The Shabbat is about Yahweh. That's the secret. That's the sod. The sod means that which is underneath the ground that you got to dig to go find. The Shabbat is about Yahweh. It's about your relationship with him. And he knows how you feel about him determines what you do on this day. So if you're pursuing your own interests and you're speaking about them, okay, and you're doing your usual things, you're not delighting yourself in Yahweh. You don't care about Yahweh. And you don't care about your relationship. And therefore, Yah has given this day as a reminder to delight in him. Because it's a reminder what he did for you. I could have destroyed your whole entire family, but I didn't. You're a survivor from the slave passages. You're a survivor. I don't care if you didn't come over on the boat. You're a survivor. But if you do this and you delight yourself in me, my promise to you is I will make you ride on the heights of the land and feed you with the heritage of your ancestor. That's what I'll do for you. You don't care about your heritage of your ancestors because you won't take the time to read about it. But you'll read every other book you can. You'll watch every other program that you can watch on YouTube. You'll watch every Netflix special instead of taking your time to find out. You'll read every comic book. You'll play every video game. You'll wash every single car you can. Because you don't give a damn about the heritage of your ancestor. Yeah, I'm using that language. You don't care. Because it means nothing to you. You see? And the reason why it doesn't mean anything to you is because your ancestors, okay? Your ancestors made it clear that they didn't care either. Ezekiel chapter number 20, verse number 12 says this. I gave them my Shabbats as a sign between me and them, so that they would know that I am Yahweh, am the one who makes them holy. If you don't keep this day, you don't understand who Yahweh is. If you don't sanctify this day, you don't know who Yahweh is. If you don't celebrate this day, and you're doing your paper cups and paper plates and paper and plastic spoons because you're just being lazy, you don't know Yahweh. You don't know how much he loves you. You celebrate him with that. But if somebody else wanted to throw a party, you bring out the best of your dishes, wouldn't you? You bring out your crystal. You go out and buy the finest wine you could to impress them. You would make the best meal you possibly could make. But you don't do it for Yahweh. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the desert. They did not live by my kukim, and which is laws. Okay. And I told you that I was going to tell you what a koch is. A koch is an inscription. And let me just give it to you right quick. Let me pull it up for you. Wait a minute. Can you guys see my screen? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, here it is. A koch right here is these two pictures, okay? And this picture right here is representative of this letter, which is what they call a ket, okay? This next one right here, the letter after that is called a kof, okay? The action of this in particular root, because this is what they call a root, okay, which is a parent root, okay, consisting of 1 and 2 letters, okay, which are called the parent root, because you got 2 Okay. The action is to inscribe, and the concrete, they don't know what the concrete meaning is, but they have an abstract of a custom. So the picture graph is this thing here, which is a wall. Okay. And it represents separation. Kind of like in our Torah portion, we talked about Yah saying, you guys are going to be separate from me for a certain period of time. You need to count 7 days, so we have a responsibility to count, to know exactly when it was. Now, you and I are not in that context there because we're in exile. So what we're trying to understand is, why did he tell them to do the things that he's telling them? So we find that separation has to do with a wall, okay? Because wall separates that which is on the inside from the outside. The next letter is this picture of a sun, which is at the horizon, representing the idea of coming together. So when you put these two letters together, it means, when you combine them, it means separation and coming together. And so what a custom brings a people separated together, okay? This is the word that Yahweh uses to talk about his, what they translate as law. It's called a kukim, okay? And it's an inscription. And that's why we read that Yah said he inscribed these things on the 2 tablets. Anytime something is inscribed, is determined from an English perspective to be a decree. And then they translate it into what we would see here as a law or a decree, and to govern and decree and law and appoint, okay? Thought and decree. But the reason why it's written and inscribed is because it's not supposed to be changed, okay? It's an inscription. And so when Yah gives the idea of a coke, okay, and he says, I'm going to do a coke, which he gave to our fathers as well, Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. Let me see here. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so here we go. All right, let me get out of here. Ooh. Pure hand is in here. Okay. So back to what I'm saying. It says here, and you tell me if you can't see it. So when he says that I gave them my Shabbats as a sign between me and them, so that they would know that I'm Yahweh, the one who makes them Kadosh. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the desert. They did not live by my kukim, by that which is inscribed, that by that which that keeps us together. Okay. So what he's letting us know is that the children of Israel, okay, in order to be joined, that which is separated, in order for it to be joined together, has to be brought together through Yah's laws, through his kukim, okay, through the appointed times, through, so like festivals, we're supposed to come together. What we're doing today is considered one of Yah's kukim, okay, is part of the Berith, it's part of the contract, it's part of the covenant, but again, it's all encompassing, it's part of the us that's separated coming together. So what we do is, during the 6 days that we're working, everybody's doing their own thing. But then when we come together as a family, we're coming together based on what Yahweh said. So Yah is showing us that there's times when we will be separate through menstrual cycles, through semen emission, through sexual contact, through Zazarah for those who are misbehaving, and all those sorts of things. But there's a time when you and I are going to come back together. And so when we follow what Yahweh says, that which has been separated from Yahweh has now been brought back together, because Yahweh's not interested in the family being separate. Yah's interested in the family being brought together. You say, well, that doesn't look like the case today. Well, that's not Yahweh's fault. That's not his fault that the family's separated. It's our fault. Okay, and I'm going to show you why in a second. So they didn't live by that which was brought together. Okay, and what was divided is brought together. They didn't live by the Shabbats. They rejected my mishpatim, my rulings, my decisions that I've already gave. So if a person does these things, he will have life. And he's not talking about eternal life. He's just talking about having a life right now, a kai. Okay, like Malachi. Okay, have life. And Malak is the one who walks, okay, in life, the one who walks for me with a message of life. The message of life is not eternal life. The message of life is to live, and your life is known by your stomach. This is what Yah just told us in the book of Isaiah, that if you honored and found delight in me, that you would feed off the heritage of your ancestor, which means that you would feed and you would give food to your stomach. Okay? You would have life. You following what I said and following my decisions will allow the rain to fall in its seasons. Okay? That's what happens if you do what I tell you. You get rain in its seasons if you honor my Shabbats. But if you don't honor my Shabbats, you won't have any life, because I'm going to dry everything up and you're going to go through famine, and then I'm going to kill you. That's just the way it is, because the earth and what I'm saying are directly connected together. Okay. But listen, so through them, you have life. Through them, through what? Your life is only going to be found in the rulings of Yahweh and through Yahweh's Kukim. This is your life. This is your life. Not HBO, not your job, none of those things. If Yah will keep you alive through them. Moreover, greatly, they profane my Shabbats. So you can see right there that they had no regard. They profaned it. How do you profane his Shabbats? Well, we learned in Isaiah chapter number 56 that you put your hand to something that's called Ra, evil. You moved your hand against Yahweh's day. Okay. Then I said, I will pour out my fury on the desert and I would destroy them. Why? I was going to destroy them. But for my own reputation, meaning my Shemo, my Shem, which is his name, and O is his name, Shemo, his name, it kept me from letting it be profaned, meaning tarnished, in the sight of the nations who have seen that I brought them out. Okay. And because I promised to give you this land, I raised my hand and swore to them in the desert, I would not bring them into the land that I was giving them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands, because they rejected my rulings. They did not live by my kokim, and they did profane my Shabbats. So this is the reason why you and I are in the exile that we're in. He said, I spared them from complete destruction. I killed a first generation, but I didn't completely destroy them to finish them off in the desert. And he was going to finish them off in the desert, but for the sake of his name, he didn't destroy us. It's only because of his reputation. It's only because of who he is. It's only because of what the nation saw that he did for us by bringing us out of land of Egypt. He brought us out of the land of Egypt to be his servants, to be his slaves. He brought us out of the land of Egypt to give us his kukim. He brought us out of Egypt to give us his mishpatim. He's brought us out of Egypt to keep his Shabbats. Because you and I live in his presence. Do you remember what he said in our Torah portion? He told them, and it's better sometimes for us to know the end before the beginning, because the end will tell you about the beginning. This is what he said. He said in chapter number 14, okay, let me see, is it this one? 34? Okay. He told us that he wanted us to know the difference between the righteous, clean and unclean. Look right here, right quick in Leviticus. I want to see what I wanted to bring that out. He told us that he wanted to make sure that, all right, so that's 31, separating the uncleanness. 15, right here, I want to kill them. Wow, as I was running across the areas and now it's swelling. I'm trying to think where I did see that. I can't find it right now. But what he was trying to tell us is that one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I don't want to have to, for the people to die. Oh, here it is. Chapter 15, verse 31. All right. And I'll go back to 14 in a second. I got to show you this right quick so you can get an understanding. Chapter number 15 of our Torah portion says this. And it tells us the end from the beginning. Okay. 15:31 says this. in this way, you will separate the people of Israel from their uncleanness, so that they will not die in the state of uncleanness for defiling my tabernacle, which is there with them. Okay. So the purpose of Yah telling these priests how to do these things is in order so that they won't die in a state of uncleanness for defiling my tabernacle. All the Zazarat cleansing, priests taking them outside, offerings, all this is because what he didn't want them to do was to defile the tabernacle, because Yah was there with them. And that's what he wanted to do. And so in his presence. So you and I right now, he says that you and I are defiling him. We're not defiling the tabernacle, but you and I are defiling him as we speak. A lot of people don't believe that, but that's the truth. Yah says that you and I are defiling him, and we're profaning him. And I'm going to look at, I think that's in Ezekiel. I should have had it up. Forgive me. I was able to pop off all those other ones. I think this is in 30. I think 30. Oh, yeah, it's in 30. 34 of Ezekiel. Any questions while I'm looking for this right quick? 34:16. Okay. Here we go. Uh, 34. 34:16. 34:16 says this. Excuse me. Should be 36. Forgive me. 36. It's not chapter 34. It's chapter number 36. 36. Yeah, that's where we moved on me. All right. 36:16. We'll start there. 36:16 says this. The word of Yahweh came to me. And this is something that you always want to look for when you're even reading in the New Testament, to find out and to go verify and make a comparison, that the word of Yahweh came unto me. Human being, when the house of Israel lived in their own land, they defiled it by the manner of life, by their manner of life and their actions. Okay. This is how you and I are defiling several things. We defile the land, and we also defile the, so we defiled our own land. Okay. We have our own land. We defiled it by the manner of life and our actions. Okay. That's how a person is defiled, is through their manner of life and actions. While their way before me was like the uncleanness of Nida. So it's like a woman on her menstrual cycle. Okay. And it's a time of, purification is a time of being set apart. So and really, Nida really means is what they would call, I'm sorry for this pen. It's a time of separation. Okay. Therefore, I poured out my fury on them because of the blood that they had shed in the land, and because they defiled it with their idols. Okay. So it was the manner of life and actions is directly connected to the gods that they would serve, the idols that they would serve. So this explains why the people who follow the New Testament act the way that they do, and why their manner of life and their actions are defiled before the Creator. Okay, because of the people that they worship, the idols. So he said, I scattered them among the nations and dispersed them throughout the countries. I judged them in keeping with their manner of life and actions. So our exile and our scattering has to do with the way that we lived our life and our actions. So when they came to the nations where they were going, they profaned my holy name, meaning my reputation. Right. And so what we know about his name is the Yod, the Hey, and the Wah, and the Hey. And inside this name, we'll find in Exodus 34:6 tells us about Yah's attributes. I'm loving, I'm compassionate, I'm full of grace and truth. And also too, I don't acquit the wicked at all. Right. And, but also there's mercy and there's grace and all these different types. There's holiness, in this name. There's set apartness in this. And so the people said to him, these are Yahweh's people who have been exiled. So even us being exiled has brought profanation upon Yahweh's name. So Yah has allowed this profanation to take place. So you can see we've defiled so many things. Okay, and what it is uncleanness. So remember, he says, if a woman is on her cycle and she sits on anything, then that which she sits on becomes unclean. So he's making an equivalence between a woman's cycle of separation and a person's lifestyle and the way that we act. And he's saying, because of the way that you guys are acting, anything that you touch is unclean. Okay. So even where you're at, you're unclean because you haven't gone through the process of being cleansed. But I'm concerned about my holy name. Yah is concerned about his reputation. He's concerned about what his name represents, which the house of Israel is profaning among the nations where they have gone. Okay. Therefore, tell the house of Israel that the master of masters, Yahweh, they say Elohim here is really Yahweh, says this: I am not going to do this for your sake, house of Israel, but for my sake of my holy name, my reputation, which you have been profaning among the nations where you went. I will set apart my great name to be regarded as Kadosh, since it has been profaned in the nations. You profaned it among them. The nations will know that I'm Yahweh. Okay, I am Yahweh, says the master Yahweh, when before their eyes I'm set apart through you to be regarded as Kadosh. So question is this: if you and I get confused and think, well, we're keeping the Shabbat and we're not eating the things that we don't supposed to, so therefore the people are able to see the Yah is being set apart as holy through us, and that is absolutely not true. It's a nice gesture, but it's not true. The truth of the matter is Yah plans on showing the nations who he is through their eyes by what he's going to do through us and being holy. Okay, the things in which can be sanctified and considered to be made holy and to be set apart by Yahweh generally has to do with fire. Okay, it's fire. Okay, and what's associated with the fire is death. Okay, so Yahweh is going to show the nations through his holiness, through his fire, who he is. And then he says, for I will take you from among the nations and gather you from all the countries and gather you and return you, because I'm going to get you returned to your own soil. Remember the soil that you and I have been defiling? So the step number one is I'm going to remove you from the places where you've been. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you. So right now, you and I have not been sprinkled clean. And then he says, you'll be clean. What? From your niddah, from your separation. I will cleanse you from all your uncleanness and from all your idols. Remember, your idols are what you defiled him with. Those are still the things that you and I have touched, the things that we spoke, the places we've been, the food that we've eaten, the clothes that we wear, everywhere we sit and everywhere we lay down. It is not Kadosh. So that's a problem. So to be back in Yahweh's presence, he has to send us through a process. And he's the one that will make us clean when he puts water on us. And when he brings us and makes us clean, he's going to cleanse us from all of our uncleanness, okay, and from our idols. Because remember, he said, if you invoke the name of any idol, I'm going to, it'll be a transgression for you, okay? So just by speaking the name of other Elohims has made us unclean. He said, I will give you a new heart. When? What? When I return you to your own soil. I will put a new spirit inside of you. When I return you to your own soil. I will take out the stony heart of your flesh. What? When I return you to your own soil. Okay, and give you a heart of flesh. But I will put my spirit inside you and cause you to live by my kukim and respect my rulings and obey them. Okay, so we know that the kukim are the things that, remember, the wall of separation and gathering, the things that brings us back together. So Yah is telling us, when I do these things, when I put my spirit inside of you, I'm going to cause you to live by my laws, all of my laws. And then you're going to do what? You're going to respect my rulings and obey them. The reason why you and I don't really understand this is, and we're not completely living by what his total laws are, meaning to bring forth your shame offering, your minkah, to draw near to Yahweh, because we're not in his presence. You and I are putting forth every effort as we can right now to say that I agree with this now. I'm embracing this, even though I can't do it. I'm embracing it. So that's proof that you want to go home. When you keep the Moedims and you keep the Pesach and you keep the Shabbat and you follow what he says and you eat the right diet, it's not that you're not living by Yah's laws, but you're not living fully 100% in a state of cleansiness. This is what Yah is telling us, okay? You and I don't have this new spirit that he's going to give to us. You don't have it. I'm going to put my spirit inside of you when I bring you back to your own soil. That's step number one, okay? And then you're going to obey everything and have respect. Why? Because right now, your ancestors and what you guys have done is shown disrespect for my rulings, okay? So if we and I try to attempt to what? We're attempting to do this, and we're trying to have this regard and respect for him. But the true respect and the true regard for him is being in Yahweh's presence and walking in cleanness. Because you and I are not ordinary people. We are what he called kadosh, okay? You will live in the land, okay? That's where you're going to live. You're not going to heaven. You're going to live in the land I gave your ancestors. Because that's what I promised them when I return you to your own soil. You're going to live in your ancestors and in the heritage which I gave to your ancestors, okay? You will be my people, and I will be your Elohim, okay? And then I will save you from all your uncleanliness. I will summon the grain, okay? So a lot of I wills, okay? I will do this, I will do this, I will save you, I will summon, I will multiply, I will, okay? And so now he's no longer turning his face from us. Now he's actually opening up to us, and he's showing us the difference between that which is unclean and that which is clean. You and I don't know that right now because we're still in the midst of a whole bunch of perverts and a whole bunch of filthy people, okay? But he says this, after he talks about increasing the yield of the fruit in verse number 30 and the trees and the increase of production in the fields, to go back to tell you about the heritage of your ancestors. If you're not focused on this and you're looking for something else, then you're not going. The children of Israel, that the first generation did not go into the land, is because Yah commanded them and they said, no, we don't want to do your command. You and I are doing Yahweh's command, and we have courage now to say we want to go in the land and we want to do what you said. That's what we want to do. And because you want to do what he said, now you're going to get this. And to a lot of us, this don't mean anything because we don't have fruit trees. We don't have land. We don't have production. We don't know what it means to work out in the fields instead of being a picker of cotton and being beaten and, getting some money from them and them starving us and them telling you, hey, we'll give you a little ration of this if you work our fields for us. So, the very thing that you and I have had experience in, we haven't had any success in. Yah is saying, I'm going to bring you back to your land and I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this for you. And why he's going to do the fruit? Because I created the trees. Why am I going to increase the production in your fields? Because I created the field. Why am I going to do this for? Because if I do this for you, you'll never suffer hunger again. You say, well, I don't have hunger. I got the store down the street. Our people around the world is in famine and hungry. And then he says this, after I bring you back, you will remember. I've done what I will do now. You will do something. You will remember. You will zakar your evil ways and your actions, that they were not good. This is the reason why Yah has us reading the Torah. Is because if you don't read the Torah and you don't study the Torah, you can't see your uncleanness. You can't see it. You can't see yourselves for what you really are. You can't see it. You're going to look at yourselves and you're going to loathe yourselves. You will remember, you're going to look at yourselves, you're going to hate yourself and you for your guilt and your disgusting practices. And he tells you, understand, says the Master Yahweh, that I'm not doing this for your sake. The sake that I'm doing this for is because of my name. Instead, be ashamed, be dismayed for your ways, house of Israel. You see? And it says, when Yahweh says, when that day comes for me to cleanse you, because I haven't done it yet, because there's a day when I'm going to do it, from all your guilt, I will cause the cities to be inhabited and the ruins to be rebuilt. That hasn't happened for us. The land that was desolate will be tilled. Formerly it lay desolate for all passing by to see. That's not going to happen any longer. Then they will say, the land that used to be desolate has become like the Garden of Eden, and the cities formerly ruined, abandoned and wasted have been fortified and inhabited. Then the nations around you that remain, because I'm going to destroy a lot of them, will know that I, Yahweh, have rebuilt the ruins and replanted what was abandoned. I, Yahweh, have spoken it. I will do it. Yahweh, Elohim says, in addition, I will let the house of Israel pray to me to do this for them. What he's going to let us do? I'm going to let you guys pray to me so you can have more kids. I'm going to increase your fields and your trees and your fruit. I'm going to increase your body. Like what? Sheep. But I thought the New Testament said that isn't a man's like, a man is no better. I mean, a sheep is no better than a man or something like that. Like flocks of sheep for sacrifice, like flocks of sheep in Jerusalem at a designated times, the Moedim. And in this degree, the cities will be filled with flocks of people. And then you will know that I am Yahweh. Then you will know that I'm merciful. Then you will know that I'm compassionate. Then you will know that I'm full of truth. Then you will know that I don't acquit the wicked. That's when you're going to know it. But if you don't do the Torah, you'll never know. Because the Torah does something for us, okay? And in closing, I would like to say, I didn't get to finish everything that I wanted to talk about today. Okay, I'll fill that for another time. Yah has directed me into another way. So here it is. In Psalms 19, it says this. It says, and I want you to remember this for the rest of the week. Okay, well, chapter number 19. The Torah is something that all of us need to really focus on. I give my wife credit for this, by all means. When we first came to this truth, I used to be all over the place, reading the Bible, reading the New Testament, reading the Old Testament, reading, the prophets, reading the writings, reading the Psalms. I read the Torah, but I didn't ever, look and say, well, let's just keep teaching the Torah. So one day she came to me and she said, hey, I think the most important part of anything is the Torah. And I said, you know what? She said, that's what we need to be teaching. We don't need to be talking about anything else. And I said, wow. I said, you know what? You're right. So we started doing this. The reason why you need to understand and continue on the Torah is because the Torah of Yahweh is perfect. Okay. That's the reason why you don't need the New Testament to give you any more understanding. Like, they said that the Old Testament is enfolded and then the New Testament is unfolded. One was unfulfilled and one is fulfilled. Yahweh's Torah is perfect. And what it does is it uses this word right here to restore. But what it does is talk about it returns. It shews, it returns the inner person back to Yah. That's what it does. It's not just restoring you for the sake of you being restored. It's returning the inner person back to Yahweh. The instruction of Yahweh is sure. This word instruction is not Torah here. They mistranslated. It's called the testimonies of Yahweh, the aduth, okay, which are the words that are spoken in the covenant, okay? Those are his words, the testimonies, okay? His testimonies are what? They're sure, they're firm. That means they're firm. You don't need to look for any other book. You don't need to add anything else to what Yah was talking about because it makes the wise simple, thoughtless. Like, those who think they have a whole bunch of wisdom, it totally destroys what they're talking about because Yahweh's words are firm. They're sure, okay? The precepts of Yahweh are right, and they rejoice the heart. When you hear what Yah talks about in terms of his statutes, this is what's supposed to make your heart happy. If you're not reading Yah's Torah and being restored and returning back to him, then you're not really reading the Torah. You're not really understanding it. The commandment of Yahweh is pure. It enlightens the eyes. It gives you the light that you need because the mitzvah of Yah is a lamp. And the Torah is the light of that lamp, according to Proverbs chapter number 6, verse number 23, excuse me. The light, and the light is the fire. The fire goes inside the lamp. The commandment is the lamp. So the Torah is the light. Okay. If you don't have Torah, you can't return. You can't return back to Yahweh. You can't, your inner person, who you really are. Okay. If you don't have the commandments of Yahweh, you don't have the command of Yahweh, it's pure, enlightening the eyes. If you don't follow what he says, your eyes are darkened. Well, listen to this. The fear of Yahweh is clean. It's pure. Tahor, which is the ultimate goal of all Israel, is to come to a point of being clean, enduring forever. The rulings of Yahweh, the mishpatim of Yahweh are true. They're all righteous altogether. They're straight. And that's what we're trying to do. They're more desirable than gold, fine gold, sweeter than honey, and the drippings from the honeycomb. And through them, through what? Everything that he just said. Your servant. Now, do you understand when he says in Leviticus chapter number 25 that you and I are his slaves? The servant and slave are synonymous. They go together. We're warned by these. We're warned by the Torah. We're warned by the precepts. We're warned by the mishpatim. We're warned by the fear of Yahweh, the rulings, the mishpatim of Yahweh. We're warned by those things. Obeying them is great reward. Because who can discern unintentional? These things are what tells you what is unintentional and brings it back to your attention. These are the guidelines for your life. This is what's going to cleanse you. Because remember, we're trying to get cleansed from hidden faults. It was the Kohanim were the ones who are supposed to teach us that which was clean and unclean. Yah wants us to remain in a place of cleanliness, as you saw in Ezekiel. The goal is to bring us to be washed. The goal is to bring us close to him. The goal is to bring the family back together. Also, and see, we talk about this hidden faults. There's things that I told you that we need to ask Yah to examine us like the priest did. Examine us and see if there's anything that's hidden inside of me. What's part of me that needs to be dealt with? What am I hiding? Well, you put the Torah on it, you'll find out. The light. Also, keep your servant from presumptuous sins, putting Yahweh to the test. Let me get into a business deal. He'll protect me. Let me be with this woman. She ain't gonna, that's nothing gonna happen to me. Let me be with this man. Let me go along and sign the papers on this. And I'll just do whatever I can, and he'll just help me out. See? And that's what you would call the things that won't control you, because your presumptions will try to desire to control you and make you think that you can do something that you don't have no business doing. Then I will be blameless and free of offense. I'll be blameless. How can we remain blameless? If we would do what Yahweh says. Because Yahweh wants you to be free from offense. He wants you to be blameless. But it only happens through righteousness. And then he says, may the words of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart be acceptable in your presence, Yahweh, my rock and redeemer. David understood that he was a servant. Oh, I see some hands up. Forgive me. I didn't see those hands up. Zanya, go ahead.
Shabbat Shalom. When you were talking earlier, and you were just going on about the importance of the Shabbat, I just wanted to say that it's just not like with the New Testament. It's a big issue in our community, even in the Torah-only community, whether the Shabbat command is to be obeyed in this captivity. I know my husband and I have searched diligently, and he has made the decision, and I agreed wholeheartedly. It is to be honored in our home, and we see the benefits of it. But there's this big call to return to the Most High, but without the Sabbath command, which clearly marks a misunderstanding of Torah, most specifically Deuteronomy 30 verses 1 to 11. And it just goes along with everything that you've been talking about for the last hour and a half or so. So,
Well, praise be to our Elohim.
yes, praise be.
Praise him. Thank you for that contribution. Because yeah, there is a problem. Everyone's trying to find a way to circumvent the Shabbat. And that's the problem. It's a big deal. It is huge. Okay. And Yah's not gonna let that go. That's part of the covenant. You know, that's the fourth word that he spoke, that you have 6 days. And he's holding us to the covenant. You understand? So that's part of this agreement that we have to, and that's what it's a sign between us and him, like circumcision, like this rainbow in the sky. It's a sign. Hallelujah. iPhone 13, you got something that you want to add?
Man, my arm tired now, man. I had my hand raised for like the last 30 minutes.
Oh, you know what? Well, I'm sorry, because I didn't see it. When I was in that other thing, I couldn't see because I had it minimized. I apologize, you guys. I didn't see the hands up because I minimized it so I can see the full screen. I apologize for that. What did you want to add, Kent?
Oh, no. It's just the way you bring out the Most High's words, man. How you break it down, you know, just the way you address it, you know, you're fired for it, man. It's like a speech before a football game. You know, you and your teammates hyped up, you know, turn up on the football. You know, like, I'm ready to go find those dudes on the corner right now. You know, like, fired up. You know, but,
Yeah.
I truly do, and I'm pretty sure others too appreciate, you know how you break down the Most High's words and you stay on what the Most High is saying. You're not coming with, you know, oh, how I feel or how I think. It's now you coming with, okay, let's go see what the Most High said. You know, you break, and that leaves no room for any excuses, for any, you know, for any room for, like, you know, try to justify something. Like, not just the Most High. The Most High said point blank, bam, that's it. So, you know, so when somebody try to come with something else, well, over here in Matthew, no, the Creator said, we ain't worried about what Matthew said. We don't even know if Matthew exists. So what are you talking about? We ain't worried about this dude. We
Right.
worried about what the I say, you know, and that's final. But initially, what I had my hand up for earlier, it wasn't to nitpick, but it was back on the Shabbat about the animal, you know, helping the animal out the ditch. So let's say, you know, just somehow, some way that sheep got loose on the Shabbat. So do you just leave that animal, you know, just on accident, you know, if the animal somehow just got loose from the herd or from
He just
fence?
has to die. That's just, yeah. He just got to die. Can you play that for me, baby? Yeah, it just got to die. I mean, listen, you know, Yah tells Israel, do you want to lose your life? You know, he tells them that, you know, if you want to lose your life, if you value your lives, you're not going to do this on Shabbat. That's what he says. And that's in Jeremiah chapter number 17. He says, if you value your lives, you're not going to break the Shabbat. It's a big deal. He put us out because of that. This is a big deal, folks. This is not something that you should take lightly. You know, I have friends who were in the movie industry and they're like, hey, I got a big, you know, project going and I got to go film this and this and that. I was like, don't do it. You can go do that any other time. It's this time of separation. Go ahead, Sister Claudia. Thank you for that, Kent.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, Akika
Shabbat
David.
shalom.
So yeah, let us
Hey!
talk about the Shabbat and lighting of fire and, you know, warming of the meals and preparing meals, because usually I prepare my meals on a Friday, and I used to warm my Shabbat meal. But I some time back you had this really interesting topic about lighting fire on the
Yeah.
Shabbat. And because of that, I kind of, for a few Sabbaths now, I kind of stopped warming it because I've been trying to study a little more about the fire and the warming and regarding the Shabbat. So let us just talk a little more. Maybe you could explain to me a little more. It's something I just want to talk a little more about so I can get a better understanding if you have the time.
Oh, absolutely. What's the question? Are you just asking about whether or not you
Because I think I heard you said that we could prepare our meals.
Well, no, you can't prepare. What you
Okay.
can do is heat.
Okay, right.
You can heat your meal up like in your oven, right? That's not
Mhm.
lighting a fire. Fire is like real fire. Okay. So no
Okay.
real fires, no real fires whatsoever. All right.
Yes.
You can
So
microwave.
right. So that was I was thinking because you have you have gas stove and I think you have the electric stoves.
Yeah.
And then I think I have electric stoves. So I'm saying, I wonder if that's really fire. So it's just a lot going on with a lot microwaves. And, it's like, wow, what do we do and what we don't do? But the Isaiah, the scripture that you read in Isaiah, which says your own pleasure, it really breaks down. I think that's not the law, but it's a testimony. It really, really breaks down a little much more and tells you exactly not doing your own pleasure, so really warming your meal to have your Shabbat meal. I don't see it really as your own pleasure. And I don't think it's really, cutting the respect that the Creator wants you to
right.
give. And, so
You're
I just wanted you
absolutely
to talk to me a little more about it. That's it. And I think
Well,
you're doing that.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's not, I'm sorry for cutting you off. It's not the pleasure that Yah's talking about delighting yourself in is, like I said, when he talks about making a delight, meaning rejoice and to delight in him, to desire this day, to go beyond the paper cup, okay, or in the plastic spoon, okay. If you got silver, bring it out. If you have whatever you can, you got the fine china, bring it out. If you got the crystal glasses, bring them out. Because you're celebrating him. Yes, this day is about him. Lighting a fire, that's a no-no, right? We went over that in Psalms chapter number 92, I think. It was a Shabbat psalm, and it talked about why you shouldn't light fire, because that's the time when Yah was going to use fire, right? And a lot of people think that Yah himself is fire because he says, I'm a consuming fire, right? So you're not lighting any fires. Okay. You're not gathering any wood, but if I had a gas stove and that's the stove that I had, I wouldn't light it. It's fire. I wouldn't light it. I wouldn't light the gas stove. No, I'm not lighting the gas stove. I will go buy myself a $100 microwave oven and I'll warm my food up, or I'll hit my oven up and do that. Okay. So again, like going back to washing the dishes, you don't see a Torah that says, to wash the dishes. So the Torah doesn't mean, that if it's not listed in, the first part of the Torah, that it doesn't exist. It does exist. Like we read in Ezekiel in chapter number 20. I'm gonna get to your question in a second, Okoti. When we looked in Ezekiel and in Isaiah, it gave us more details about these things. Like even in Jeremiah 17, it talks about the Shabbat. He says, if you value the Shabbat, you're not going to do this. You're not going to do this, right? Nehemiah talks about the Shabbat, and it gives you more detail, like what they were doing, buying and selling. That's not mentioned over there in the Torah. So what people say is, it's not mentioned in the Torah, so it's not a law.
But that's your own pleasure and that's your own activity.
Yes.
And that is why I don't even understand why any Hebrew Israelite or any person who's reading the scriptures would even ask about working on the Shabbat. That's a no question as far as I'm concerned. And I do know persons, teachers who do say it's how we get our bread, and that's just a no. But thank you.
They don't have any respect. They don't like remember what he said in Ezekiel. He said they don't respect my rulings. They don't respect my Shabbat. They profane my Shabbat. That's why we're in exile. The reason why we're in Shabbat or in exile is because of the Shabbat. I can show you Leviticus 26. He said, because they did not honor my Shabbats, and I'm going to give the land its rest. Okay. And while she's getting her rest, I'm going to work you in the ground. And then when you get over where you're going, you're going to think about it. And you go like, oh, I'm going to confess and I'm going to admit we went wrong. We hated what you said. These people are trying to figure a way how to get out of it, how to expedite it, how to speed up the Shabbat. They couldn't wait till it was over. That's what chapter number 58 of Isaiah is about. They just want to hurry up and finish it. Let's hurry up and get the Shabbat over so we can get back to doing our business. So you got people out here that are telling people that they can go buy and sell on the Shabbat. And they're supposed to be pastors and rabbis. They do not have any regard for Yahweh's day. And that's because they won't take the time to read it in its original text. Go ahead, Akoti Rivkwa.
Oh, I was just going to say, a lot of us don't know, but if you look at your oven, sometimes they have a Shabbat setting on it that puts it like, makes it like a warming plate. So like those freestanding ovens, sometimes those, the Whirlpool and the GE, some of those ovens actually come with a Shabbat setting.
Wow.
And so, yeah, if you're going to buy a oven, you can also request a Shabbat setting on your oven.
See?
Yeah. And the warming plates are really good too. You can get those on Amazon. They're like under $50.
Well, see, that's what you call being proactive in trying to we're not trying to figure out a way out of the Shabbat. We're trying to figure a way how to live within it. We're trying to figure out how to guard it. When he said you would guard it, guarding it means, well, what do I need to do? Do I need to go buy a microwave oven? Do I need to prepare my meal this way? What do we need to make in order for it to keep well? Is it something we can put in the refrigerator? Is that something, for the dinner part? When the sun goes down, that's when we generally have dinner anyway, right? Do we do that? So you're guarding, you're coming up with a contingency plan. What I'm saying is you're not walking around like a bozo, just acting like you're not paying attention. You don't look, it's interesting that, and I did this before, so I'm not saying I've never made a mistake, but the one mistake I did make, I never did it again. One time I got in my car and was traveling to go worship, and I looked and my gas was like down to a little bit under a quarter tank. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to make this distance. And guess what? I said, if I don't get any gas, I'm gonna be without a gas. What do I do? Y'all told me, guess what? Don't you ever do that again. I said, what? Don't you ever do that again. That's what I heard in my inner man. Don't you ever do that again. You get up and stop being lazy and go get and look at, if you're traveling, go look at your gas tank. Why all of a sudden now you don't have the mind? Why all of a sudden now you're playing dumb like you don't know? Why are you all of a sudden now you acting like, you could do everything else you want to do. When you were doing for Christmas and Easter and all these other holidays, you made sure everything was prepared. But now all of a sudden you become, where your culture is, and all of a sudden now you're lazy. Now you don't want to do nothing. Now you want to make excuses. If you're working on the Shabbat right now, you better find a way to get out of it. You better find a way to ask and request. If you can't, just keep going to work. Just like the guy who said, oh, just forgive me. Yahweh knows that this guy is putting me underneath. I'm under authority. But he took 2 saddles of dirt with him. You understand? No excuses. But he wasn't Israel. You and I are under a covenant. We're in an agreement. You break that agreement and you don't want to turn back to him, and you have the mindset that I'm going to do what I want to do, you're not going back into the land. This is not about going to heaven. This is not just about becoming a people. This is about being reunited around the idea of holiness. I sent you to the filthiest place I can find for you. You think it's not filthy because they got palm trees and nice cars. Where you're living is a cesspool of indignation. But I sent you there. It's real tasty. I sent you there to find out whether or not you wanted to be set apart. And if you want to be set apart, then you're going to live a certain part life, period. Anyone else? Hope you guys were able to learn something today. Everybody learn something?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hallelujah. All right, you guys. Well, listen. Say Yahweh, thank you. Hallelujah. Thank you for all that you've done for us. We thank you, Yahweh, for, your many, many mercies and your grace and your compassion towards your children. We have been rebellious. We have been stubborn. We haven't listened. We've been, like you said, we've been stupid. And we thank you that you reveal to us through your Torah how perfect you are, because it's your Torah. It says the Torah of Yahweh. It's perfect. There is no other book that you and I need to read to find out how much Yahweh is perfect. We bless you, Yahweh, for your day. Today, we ask that you would open our eyes to see the beauty of you. We ask that we would walk and live in your world and would be cognitive of who you are. And we would look at the creative power of the heavens and the earth. And then we would have a grandized thought about you, that we would hold you in high esteem, and that we would honor you and give you the praise that you deserve. And that doesn't mean just by singing, that's just going out and looking with our eyes and beholding that which you've made. We thank you today for this Shabbat. We thank you for your Torah and your instructions and your guidance about your Shabbat. We ask today that you would salakanu, Yahweh, that you would salak, that you would forgive and pardon our transgressions against your day. We also ask that you would forgive our ancestors for rejecting your laws and your statutes and your commandments and profaning your Shabbats, Yahweh. We ask for your forgiveness for profaning your name. Very difficult for us to accept and to understand. But we ask you to forgive us for that and to wash us and to cleanse us and bring us back to our soul, so we would be able to praise you in cleanness, and that we'd be able to declare your greatness of your name in a place of purity, because you are worthy of all praise. But we can only fully do that in the land that you gave us, and we can only fully do that when you prepare us the way that you want to prepare us, Yahweh. We want to ask you to increase our families. We want you to increase our production, not here. We don't ask that you increase us here. We ask that you increase us in your land. And we ask this that you increase us with knowledge and wisdom and understanding, so we can be the people that you've called us to be. Forgive us, Shabbat. Forgive us for what we've done. Forgive us for the things that we don't even know what we've done, for those hidden things that are in us. We ask that you would examine us and bring those things bring it to light, so we can make the decisions and make the adjustments and decide for ourselves if we really want to go home and be your people. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Praise be to our living Elohim. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right, you guys. Well, hey, we're going to have class today. I'm starting off in chapter number 1 of our Hebrew. So we're starting all over again. So if you want to, and it's going to be basic, and we're going in and we're going to go there. So we're going to go through that, and hopefully I can see you guys a little bit later on today. All right. Toda rabah, you guys. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.